Greetings, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Topic UFO. Tonight, we're going to be speaking with Mr. Benjamin Hulett, who has written a book about his own personal experiences, and it's called The Alien Illuminati. Where does your story start? Is this another one where it starts at a young age, or?
Yes, definitely at a young age. And it didn't start off as what I knew as being an alien abduction. My first experience, I can't tell you exactly how old I was. I didn't write this down with the intention of telling my story. I've only talked to a few people about it when I was young. My story started, I was probably 11 or 12 years old. I could have been slightly younger or slightly older. It's been so many years. It was more what was explained to me as an interdimensional experience. I wasn't taken up into a ship and brought to another world or anything like that in my first experience. What happened was I was waking up out of my sleep, and I thought it was an earthquake. I lived in Buffalo, New York. There's no, there's no earthquakes or anything like that. The entire house was just shaking, and I can hear explosions outside. I look out the window and I see lights flashing. It looked like it was a war going on outside. So I go to the window and I see what looks like regular military aircraft flying around, firing upon these other craft, which did not look like anything I'd ever seen. They were firing back and forth. I saw people on the streets running, screaming. It was just total chaos. Now, I'm sitting on this little chair looking out the window, and then this voice pops into my head. Benjamin, step through the window. We need you. And it just kept repeating that. And I said, oh, no, I'm not stepping through there. I could die. I'm still conscious. I know I'm 2 stories up. And if I fall out, I could either die or break some bones or something. I said, oh, no, I'm not going out there. I'm scared. Then it says, it's basically telling me, no, it's safe. You can come through. We need your help. I'm assuming that, okay, I don't know what they need my help for, but I'm too young to fight or do whatever they're doing. I don't know anything about that. And the doorbell rings. This is where it gets strange. I'm thinking all of this is a dream up until this point. The doorbell rings. I have an uncle. He played musical instruments, and he performed vocally at nightclubs and bars. And he'd come home at 2:30 in the morning. And every morning he'd ring the doorbell like 100 times a minute just to get somebody's attention, because we were all heavy sleepers in my grandmother's household. I answered the door and I asked Arthur, I said, are you okay? What's going on out there? Are you okay? I'm like, out of my mind, I'm thinking he's hurt, that he's part of what I just experienced looking out the window up in my room. And he's looking at me like I'm crazy. He did not experience any of the stuff that I was experiencing. So I stumble up the stairs. I can still feel the house shaking, and I'm stumbling up the stairs. He has his room in the basement. He goes downstairs. And I look back out the window, and everything is still going on. And I decide to go back to bed. Okay, something's wrong. I'm going crazy. I'm dreaming. I look on my bed, and I see my body there. I had never experienced this in my life. So I lay down and yes.
When you go back into your bedroom and you see yourself already back in bed.
Yes. Okay. Like I had never left there. I did not know what to think. So I had this weird feeling as I was laying down, kind of like the tingly feeling all over my body. And I'm not making this up. This is not a story that I would tell somebody as far as like an abduction or an interdimensional story. This is not what I would make up if I was to make something up. There was a translucent blue glove, like a space glove, not any weird. It had 5 fingers. It looked like something that Buzz Aldrin, would wear, but just the glove, no arm, no face, no body. And you can see the outline is like new neon blue translucence that you can see through it. It came straight to my face and did one of these little numbers, waving in my face saying, "We'll be back for you. You'll change your mind." In so many words, I'm paraphrasing, but it basically said that it'll be back for me and I will be changing my mind.
And you were how old at this time?
I was anywhere between 11, 12, maybe 13 at the oldest.
Okay, so you were not a little kid, so very, very strange. Okay, so what? I'm sorry to interrupt. What happens next after this glove situation?
Well, I wake up in the morning and I remember everything. I asked Arthur, or actually Arthur asked me, "Are you okay? You're acting really strange." And I told him everything that happened, and he's like, "No, you really answered the door. I was at the door. I asked him. I said, Did you come to the door?" And I answered it, and he verified that that happened. And even to this day, I struggle with the fact that I saw my body on the bed after I went back upstairs from answering the door. So I don't know how that works. I don't, I'm no expert in the field. Anybody that says they are, they're being misled.
Now, do you think it's possible that you were sleepwalking and possibly, dreaming when you got up to go answer the door? I mean,
That's something that I would like to, have believed, and it's definitely a possibility. It could be all a large coincidence if it weren't for the experiences that I've had several years later and all the way up to this day.
okay. All right. Well, please continue.
Okay, I had an experience when I was 16. I do remember how old I was at this age because I was dating someone and she went to my junior prom. And this was another out of body experience, which kind of confirmed that the soul can leave the body. Now, mind you, I've always been into church. I was a good boy. I was never into any aliens or anything. I never believed in it. I enjoyed watching Star Trek, Star Wars, but all of that was just fantasy to me. So this second experience, I was dreaming that I flew over to my friend's home. She also had she lived on a second story. She lived in a duplex. There's no way to get upstairs unless you unlock the door outside and then go up the stairs to where their apartment was. I was looking in the window on their second story, watching her younger sister and her younger brother play a board game. They had on their pajamas. It was approximately 11 o'clock at night, somewhere around there. And I saw everything in the house. I was able to describe the format of the house, the decor of the house, what they had on. I thought I was dreaming once again. When I talked to her, I believe it was the next day or a couple of days after that, and I told her about that, and she accused me of being a peeping Tom because that's exactly what she was doing, exactly what they had on, and exactly what their apartment looked like. I had to remind her that she was on the second floor, and there's no way that I had, there's no way I could have known what they were doing, and I'd never been in their apartment before. Her mother would not allow her to have, them to have male company in the house whatsoever.
So let's rewind here just a second. So when you had these thoughts or these premonitions or whatever, what were you doing again? You were asleep?
I was after I go to bed, and you can kind of feel yourself rise out of your body, and it's like you're dreaming that you're flying. Everybody has those dreams, unless
Right.
you don't dream. But this particular one, call it a strange coincidence, but I just happened to describe exactly what was going on that night, and I had no foreknowledge of what was going on of that night. And when I described it, my friend Shelby confirmed to me that that's exactly what her and her family were doing, playing a board game in their pajamas late at night. And I described the decor of the house. Now, at that point, I said, okay, this isn't a coincidence. The body does have a soul, and it can leave the body. And so that was the second experience, and then my next one didn't happen until I was 22.
Okay, and what happened then?
This was an actual alien abduction, and I heard of little green men before that. You watch TV and
Right.
you hear stories, all the 50s and 60s films about Martians and all that. All of that was, nonsense to me. It was entertaining, but it wasn't real. At this time, I had just got into the music industry. I was doing an internship, for people. I worked with a lot of famous people, but I was still new to it. But I had a recording session the following morning. But in the middle of the night, I woke up on a metallic bed. I hate to be cliche, but this is really what happened.
Just tell it like it is.
It was a metallic bed. It was a very dim lit room. There was hardly anything in the room at all. I can see off in the distance a couple of alien figures. I'm thinking I'm dreaming until I look to each side of me, and there were three gray aliens with black almond shaped eyes, long necks, large heads on each side of me, like literally holding me down. There were on the end of the table or whatever it was I was on. There was one holding one foot down, another holding another foot down. And the same thing with my shoulders. I couldn't see behind me, but I can feel hands holding my shoulders down, and the other beings holding my arms down and my wrists down. I woke up. I don't think I was supposed to have waken up. As they were shoving something from this, one of them straight directly behind me was pulling something down and shoving it into my throat. And I woke up as as all this was going on. It was like within a 3-second period that I observed what was around me, and it was being shoved into my throat. I remember struggling, and a struggle went on for about 7 or 8 seconds. I'm like struggling, trying to fight and get these things off of me. Next thing you know, I black out. I don't know what happened after that, how long this had been going on, or how long it went on after that. But then I wake up and I'm coughing up blood. My throat is really sore. I mean, it felt like I went through the actual trauma of what I was, quote unquote, dreaming about.
So when you woke up, you were physically bleeding.
Yes, I was physically bleeding. I was coughing up blood. I'd spit, cough up blood. I mean, it felt like I had strep throat, and I wasn't sick any time before that. I hadn't had a cold or anything. I wouldn't have scheduled a recording session if I was sick.
Wow. So by this time, you've, over the period of, approximately 10 years, you've been having these strange things happen, these premonitions. Now at 22, you have what, can only be called an abduction event.
Yes.
What are you thinking? What are you thinking to yourself?
That everything I learned in church just flew out the window. They never, they taught us about David and Goliath and all these other things, but I had never learned about alien abduction. So I did a little further research into it, and I started learning more and more and hearing that I wasn't the only one to have experienced this.
Okay. So prior, or did you grow up in a fairly religious home?
Very religious. We went to church at least 3 times a week.
Wow.
Very religious. Very.
So, I mean, did you feel like, hey, am I losing my mind? I mean, there must have been some type of fear factor there, right? Or
there was definitely immediately after there was a fear factor, but at the same time, I was kind of relieved to know that there's other things out there. But I started making a connection because I always grew up kind of different. I have a genetic, what they call a blood disorder, with my immune system, to where they thought I was going to die. I was around 7 years old, and they flew in. At first, they thought I had croup, but then they flew in 2 doctors, one from Germany and one from Japan, because none of the American doctors could figure out what was wrong with me. I remember one of their names was Dr. Benjamin, and he was the doctor from Japan. I don't recall the gentleman from Germany's name, but he told me I don't have a blood disorder. I just have a different immune system. And how it works is, and it's exact to this day, once every 3 weeks, every 21 days, my white blood count, my neutrophils drop to 0. So I can get infections easily as I did when I was 7, to where I'm on my deathbed. And this has happened, every 3 weeks like clockwork. But when my white blood count comes back up, and it comes back up on its own without the help of any medicine, whatever was in my body, if I had a cold or whatever it was, it's gone with it. So that's always been a strange thing. It was explained to me that my immune system is just different. So I started wondering, was this something that was done to me when I was in my mother's womb? Am I different? There's people that suggested to me that I was a hybrid or a walk-in. In my book, I described it as a walker. I didn't know all the technical terms. I'm not, I never considered myself, an expert in this. So you'll see some errors in my book as far as what I'm describing.
You're describing it the best you know how.
The best I know how as a person who's experiencing this, which to me is an honest standpoint, which is more believable to a lot of people.
Let me ask you, have you discussed any of this with any family members? A lot of times I hear that this abduction phenomenon seems to carry through family bloodlines.
Yes.
Have you done any research there or been able to talk to anybody?
Yes, I talked to my aunt. Her name is Deborah. She was close to my mom. My mom disappeared, and I literally mean disappeared in 1979 when I was 5 years old. When I first told the experience about about the excuse me, the window and the things going on outside, when I told my aunt about that, she asked me had I been in her books. I didn't know she was into this stuff. And so I said, no, I haven't been reading your books. So she described, she took me to her home and she showed me in her book someone describing the exact same experience that I described. So she was amazed by this. So she started telling me about my mother and that my mother had the same experiences that I have and that she had a scheduled departure. I don't know if it was, it could have been running away. It could have been a suicide. It could have been an abduction. I still don't know to this day. All I can do is speculate of what happened to her.
So your mother's, and I don't want to get too personal here, but your mother's body has never been found or recovered?
There's been no recovery. Just last year in April, one of my mother's close friends got in contact with my sister and then later got in contact with me saying that she knew what happened to my mother, that she went on a road trip and that she was brutally murdered. But she told me the city and all that. But when I called the police departments and I called a few police departments, they're saying there's no record of that. Of course, they didn't have it in their computer, but one of the detectives actually went through their physical records to look for something of that description within a 5-year time period, and nothing came up. So later on, talks in the family was that this lady was just trying to put us at ease, or
trying to put
that she had
closure around it,
trying to put some closure around it, which really didn't do anything, But I included that, in the last pages of my book because if you read the book, it's very relevant to a story that I told at the end.
I've heard on other shows that there is this phenomenon of, and it involves like hundreds of thousands of people that just seem to disappear off the face of the planet.
Yes.
And you think, my God, how could this be happening? And, it's not a front page news.
Right.
But from what I understand, it is a true phenomenon for sure.
Yes. They're not going to put this stuff front page because it is something that's happening. The government does know about it. I actually have a website which, you could go on there and watch the different videos. I vet the videos pretty well. There's some stuff on there which I don't lend any credence to, but if I have the video up, there's something within it that is, true to where you can take it for what it's worth. But I have had several experiences almost on like 2 or 3 times a week. Even to I've had a couple of experiences last week to where I was taken to somewhere else. I really can't say where, and I was shown certain things, different planets, different life. People, since you brought up people disappearing, well, actually I kind of brought it up. They showed me where people who decided to stay, they're given the choice to stay or not. There was an entire community of people humanoid, just like myself, many of them from Earth. You could not decipher who was from another planet or not. And those were the people that decided to stay, and they were completely happy. They were in bliss. They had a society which was not based on the monetary system or personal wealth. It was just everybody contributed in an equal way. Whether you were a shoemaker or a scientist, everyone was considered equal. And I was shown this. I was given a tour. I was fed. This sounds crazy, but this actually did happen. And
now,
I was yes.
No, please continue. I'm sorry.
And the next time that this happened, because it started happening on a regular basis, these beings, they would never reveal themselves to me. And I was physically taken. I could see myself leaving the earth, as they describe in the book of Ezekiel. He could, if that's the correct book, he saw the whole of the earth, the round of the earth. And I saw that. And then I saw myself pulling up to a binary planetary system. And the next time it happened, I said, okay, since this is, this happened a couple of times, I'm going to ask questions next time. So I decided to ask, who are you? Where are you at? Where are you from? And they told me. They said, we are on the other side of your sun at this moment. Those were the exact words.
You are the first person, and I've asked so many people that have been in the type of situation you've been in. I've asked them, did you ask them who they are and where they're from? And nobody has ever done that, to the people I've talked to anyway. You are the first person I've got that response from. So they say they're from the other side, somewhere on the other side of the sun. Okay.
Yes, and they don't answer questions, or actually the ones that I was dealing with at the time, because at the time I was only dealing with one, but now it's like I deal with about 5 or 6 different types of beings. This one, they didn't say exactly like, oh, I'm from Zeta Reticuli or I'm from Orion. They didn't say that. They just said, we are on the other side of your sun at this moment. They want you to be intelligent enough to try to put the puzzle together, because they don't want to deal with someone that's not able to decipher these things. So things are going to be kind of in code or in riddle. I'm no astronomer. I got out my Google Maps on the computer and I started looking online, trying to figure out, okay, what's on the other side of this sun? It took me hours upon hours to figure it out. And I got a general sense, you have to calculate what's the position of the Earth on this particular date and what moves in space and where does it move to. So I came up with a general idea of where. I shared this information with Seth Shostak from SETI. I didn't know that's who I was sharing it with. I just emailed them and I received a reply back from him. I didn't know he was famous. I didn't know he has been on TV. So come to find out, this was in 2010. Come to find out, 2 months later, they started investigating this region of space. And this on CNN, they announced that they found for the first time the first Earth-like planetary system ever.
Wow.
And I look, I find the information out and I look in the region of space and it's pretty much where I told them to look. So I emailed Seth back and I said, NASA beat you to it. And all this is in my book, all copies of the emails. He says, well, not exactly. I have about 10 members of the SETI team working with NASA at the Kepler Observatory. So he's pretty much letting me know, no, they didn't beat us to it. We worked with them. I did tell him I didn't want any credit for this. I just wanted them to find these beings. But since then, they have found approximately 12 planets which can support intelligent life with water and all that on it.
Right. So we go from premonitions to abductions to sounds like space travel.
Yes. Often.
How does that get to the title of your book, The Alien Illuminati? How does that come into play?
Because from what I gathered from everything, because I obviously can't tell you everything that's happened within 30 minutes, but because of everything that's happened and you start to ask yourself, why is this happening? Why me? I'm no government employee or politician. I'm no one important as far as how the world turns. So you start asking yourself why, and you add together the fact that there's millions of people with these same experiences, you start to say they are controlling our actions, or they are influencing our actions, and our actions therefore turn into the actions of the world that we live in. So we are, in essence, being controlled or being influenced by by otherworldly beings. I don't know if you want to call them extraterrestrial, if they're from another star system, or if you just want to say interdimensional. Well, there's several. There's no one answer. People say, oh, they're from here, they're from there. There's several. There's no one answer. So our world, and people talk about the New World Order and things that go on on this planet, it's influenced by our experiences. If I was to become a politician, I would probably do things based on my experiences. And I have experiences in abduction, and what they are asking me to do, and what they're telling me about what we need to achieve in life.
So when people speak about the Illuminati, usually, I guess they're speaking about a group of high level, or I don't know if high level is the right word, but
right. An organization,
human beings on this planet that make up this Illuminati.
Right.
You're saying that it's not human beings that are the Illuminati. It's actually alien. Right.
If you dig further into it, the Illuminati are thriving to be. They've had these same experiences that I have. And they believe either they're the bloodline of alien beings, or they would like to be a part of that organization. So there's, they say there's 33 levels of the Illuminati, but then you look at the triangle on top of the pyramid, and those are 13 levels above that. They're trying to be like these gods or other beings. So they would like to be better than everybody else. So that's where the Illuminati comes from. So they're trying to, get this new world order to where we're all one. They know that we cannot achieve the next level, going off into space and being part of this other organization unless we get our act together here where we're at. So they might be doing unscrupulous things and evil things to try to achieve this, to get one government throughout the world, so that they can be on that level. So if you dig deeper than what you read about in most books and what's on TV, it makes perfect sense that the Illuminati is actually modeled after the extraterrestrial organization, hence the title of the book.
So do you believe that we are headed towards some type of one government world?
That's what they would like, but I had a message that was pretty much given to me that that's not going to happen before a major catastrophe. And so it's kind of like our governments are trying to create this major catastrophe so that we can start over with the smaller population, so that we may have a chance to achieve that. But as of right now, it doesn't look like it's going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah, I heard recently on another show that there's some talk out there that, and I'm not sure what group it is, that wanted to do away with 90% of the population of Earth.
Yes.
And are you saying, and that's the reason why, so that they can more easily start this thing over?
Right, because society. If you look at exactly, people think it's over money and power, and it's really not. I in no way endorse the Illuminati at all, but what it's about is a oneness and achieving a higher level of being, and they think they can do this by making themselves like the ones they get their technical information from, reverse engineering, because they do deal with these beings. So they want to be like them. They want to be able to consort with these people in a higher level. The Illuminati would like to evolve, but it's not happening. It's according to them, it's too many of us here. There's too many governments. There's too much chaos on Earth to be on that level. So
I could see how it could be much easier if you were to wipe the slate clean and start over again.
right.
That only makes sense. Well, listen, Benjamin, thanks so much for taking time today to speak with us. Truly amazing stuff.
I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
No problem. And give out the name of the book one more time.
Alien Illuminati, Abductions, Psychic Dreams, Premonitions, and Paranormal.
There you go. There you go. Available at Amazon or on your website at thealienilluminati.com.
Yes.
All right. Well, listen, Benjamin, keep in touch. Let me know how things progress, and if any other strange things happen, we'll have you back on. Give us an update.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Definitely will.
Okay. Hey, listen, have a good rest of the day, and we'll stay in touch.
Thank you. You too.
Okay. See you later. Bye-bye.
Open the door, you'll find the secret. To find the answer is to keep it.